Late afternoon over the east blue, the setting sun casting long shadows over the calm ocean waves. The winds whisper through the sails of a different ship, not one that sails for freedom, but one that now represents the authority of the Marines. This is a world where the Straw Hat pirates never became pirates. Instead, they took a different oath, one that binds them to the world government's justice. The ship creaks, and at the helm stands Monkey D. Luffy, his straw hat still perched firmly on his head, though now it carries a different meaning. Gone is the carefree pirate's grin replaced by a steely resolve. With the symbol of justice emblazoned across his chest, the Straw Hats now sail under a banner of law. Welcome to AnimeAutopsy. Only 25 of our viewers are subscribed, so make sure to hit that like button and check if you are subscribed. What if the Straw Hats never pursued their dreams of being pirates? What if instead they had joined the Marines, the very force they once sought to oppose? Picture this: Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and the rest of the crew not as rebels chasing their freedom, but as elite soldiers of the world government. In this alternate timeline, the events we know from One Piece would have unfolded very differently. The Straw Hat crew, each with their own unique abilities, would still be brought together by fate. But instead of going against the forces of the world government, they would become a part of it. What happens when a band of individuals, each with their own rebellious spirit and desires, are bound by the rules of justice? Let us take a look at this what-if scenario, starting with Luffy, the pirate who never became one. Luffy's journey in this alternate universe begins at a Marine recruitment center instead of a pirate ship. He was still a boy who dreamed big, but rather than wanting to be Pirate King, his aspirations shifted. After saving a Marine officer who had been attacked by pirates, Luffy was recruited by the Marines for his bravery and strength. They saw potential in him, a wild but talented fighter who could rise through the ranks. Under the guidance of Garp, his grandfather Luffy quickly became a standout Marine. His relentless drive and thirst for adventure made him an instant force to be reckoned with. But his motivations, though still deeply rooted in freedom, now had a new direction. He wanted to see the world, not as a pirate, but as a Marine who could uphold justice on his terms. His fight against tyranny was now within the structure of the Marines, albeit with a more lenient and personal form of justice. Luffy believed in the idea of freedom, but under the belief that everyone should have the ability to choose their own path, no matter their rank or allegiance. The crew that would have formed as his pirates instead served as his comrades in arms in the Marines. Zoro's life as a Marine wasn't a matter of ambition, but rather duty. He was still driven by the need to become the strongest swordsman, but now his challenge lay in proving himself within the rigid structure of the Marines. Zoro's loyalty to Luffy remained unwavering, and his natural talent for combat quickly earned him the title of Marine Captain. Though he was bound by the Marines' chain of command, Zoro was still very much the free spirit we know, often butting heads with his superior officers. His personality remained as fiery as ever, but now it was channeled in a way that served the larger goals of the Marine organization. While he held no deep love for the world government, his bond with Luffy was strong enough to make him believe in their cause just as long as it didn't interfere with his personal quest. Zoro was still Zoro after all, and no Marine law could take away his desire to be the strongest. Nami's talents for navigation and understanding of the seas were invaluable to the Marine forces, though her heart was always drawn to treasure. Her knowledge of cartography and her ability to navigate dangerous waters made her an indispensable officer in the Marine's naval fleet. Nami, as a Marine, worked tirelessly to improve their operations, all while secretly dreaming of financial freedom. In this alternate timeline, Nami's goals shifted from the pursuit of pirate treasure to the pursuit of power within the ranks of the world government. She used her keen intellect to climb the Marine ranks quickly, and her charm and cunning were just as effective in the world of politics as they were on the high seas. Despite her role within the Marines, Nami often found herself questioning the moral implications of their missions, something that drew her into conflict with others, especially with those who saw the world government as a force of good without question. Sanji, the charming cook, still held on to his ideals of protecting women and offering hospitality. However, he had traded his dreams of opening a restaurant for his new duty as the personal chef to high-ranking Marine officers. His cooking was renowned for not only its taste, but its ability to keep the morale of the Marines high. However, Sanji's romantic heart remained, and he found himself often frustrated with the strict and impersonal nature of Marine life. Though Sanji's loyalty to Luffy and the crew was unwavering, he always wondered if there was another way to pursue his dream of freedom. His relationship with his comrades was always friendly but conflicted, as he tried to balance his ideals with his position within the Marines. The crew's journey on the high seas would have been very different in this universe. Instead of fighting against the tyranny of the world government, they would be fighting for it, but their rebellious nature would still shine through, each of them. The sun begins to rise over the horizon, casting a soft golden glow over the Marine ship. The morning calm is shattered by the sound of boots on deck as the Strawhat Marines prepare for their first major mission. Luffy stands at the helm, his hand gripping the wheel with determination, ready to face whatever challenge lies ahead. The crew is already gathered on deck, each of them in their Marine uniforms, but their identities still echo with the traces of their former pirate selves. In this alternate reality, the mission is clear. The Marines have learned of a pirate crew wreaking havoc in the East Blue, and it's up to the Straw Hat crew to deal with them. As much as Luffy and his crew have sworn an oath to uphold justice, it still feels like a strange new world to them. The exhilaration of hunting down pirates, once their former enemies, stirs something unfamiliar within them. The pirates they now hunt are no longer just criminals, they represent the past, the dreams they gave up. Luffy's first real mission as a Marine captain isn't as easy as he expected. The thrill of the chase is familiar, but there's an overwhelming weight that comes with the responsibility. He looks out over the vast expanse of the East Blue, his mind racing with conflicting thoughts. Is this the right path? Am I truly ready to fight for justice when the very thing I used to stand against is now what I protect? His crew, though loyal, can see the hesitation in his eyes. Zoro, always the pragmatist, stands silently by his side. He senses Luffy's inner turmoil, but knows this is the Captain-esque moment to prove himself. He's ready to follow no matter what. Meanwhile, Nami, true to her nature, is already working on a strategy to ensure they locate the pirate crew quickly. Sanji, ever the optimist, prepares a hearty meal for everyone, offering a brief respite from the tension building within their hearts. They may be Marines now, but deep down they still carry the same spirit, the same fire that once led them to chase the horizon as pirates. The mission, however, isn't just about hunting down pirates. It is a test of their morality, a challenge that will force them to confront their true beliefs. Luffy's resolve is tested when he realizes the pirates they were pursuing aren't entirely villains, they were a group of desperate people, barely surviving after the Marines raided their homes in search of criminals. Luffy knows the Marine way is to uphold justice, but his heart aches as he sees a side of the law he never expected. His initial hesitation grows, and a dilemma begins to form. What is justice really? Zoro, too, faces his own struggles on this mission. A man who once sought to be the greatest swordsman, no matter the cost, now finds himself wielding his blade in the name of the law. As they track down the pirate crew, Zoro begins to feel the weight of the sword he has sworn to uphold in service to the world government. His every slash, once fueled by personal ambition, now feels like a chain that binds him. Zoro's fight is not just with the pirates, it's with himself. When the battle reaches its peak and Zoro is tasked with defending innocent lives, he's forced to ask himself, is this the path I should walk? He knows that. In the Marines, there is a clear line between right and wrong. But as he faces an enemy who is no different from the people he once fought alongside as a pirate, that line becomes blurry. Zoro's dilemma isn't just about the mission. It is about his honor as a swordsman. His desire to become the strongest still burns within him, but now it feels like he's trading that dream for something far more complicated. Still, in the midst of the fight, his loyalty to Luffy and his comrades keeps him grounded, and his blade never falters. Nami, once driven by the greed to gather treasure, now navigates the seas in service to the Marines. As the crew nears the pirate hideout, Nami's knowledge of the sea proves invaluable. Her calculations and strategies ensure that the crew stays one step ahead, but beneath the surface, she's grappling with a much deeper conflict. The pirates they are hunting are people just like them, and the choice between protecting the law or protecting innocence begins to weigh heavily on her. Nami doesn't want to be a part of an oppressive regime. Her desire for freedom still burns brightly inside her. She struggles to reconcile her position as a Marine officer with the memories of the times she lived as a pirate. Even though the Marines promise safety and order, she feels an intense longing for the kind of freedom she had when she sailed without responsibility. Despite her reservations, she remains dedicated to the crew's mission, constantly reminding herself that she is not just fighting for the Marines, she is fighting for something greater. But what exactly is that? As they approach the pirate hideout, she questions whether she's been tricked into serving a system that she doesn't truly believe in. Sanji, ever the charming cook and protector of the women, approaches the mission with his signature blend of enthusiasm and reluctance. Despite being part of the Marine Force, he can't help but see the faces of the pirates they're pursuing as just people who have their own dreams and desires. It is a constant internal battle for him. Should I be serving the Marines, or should I follow my heart and do what's right? As they reach the pirate hideout, Sanji steps forward to deliver his signature kick. But unlike his usual confident self, there is a hesitation in his movements. He wonders if his actions are truly just, or if they are just another way to feed the Marine machine. Deep down, he longs for freedom, the freedom to cook in peace, to protect the ones he loves, and to have a life outside of the shackles of duty. Yet he still stands by his comrades, ready to fight for whatever cause Luffy believes in. As the battle with the pirate crew escalates, the Straw Hat Marines are forced to confront their own beliefs about justice, freedom, and what it means to fight for a cause. They each wrestle with their place in this new world, their former selves still lingering beneath the surface. In the end, the true test isn't just their physical strength, it is their moral strength. The battle rages on, and as the smoke clears, the Straw Hat Marines stand victorious. The pirate crew lies defeated, their ambitions crushed under the weight of marine justice. Yet a somber atmosphere hangs over the deck as Luffy and his crew process the consequences of their actions. The winds seem colder, the ocean quieter, almost as if the sea itself is judging them. As the crew gathers together, they can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. They've completed their mission, but the victory feels hollow. The pirates they defeated were no different from the people they once were, dreamers with their own goals and a hunger for freedom. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Sanji, and the rest of the crew have become aware of an undeniable truth. Justice isn't as clear-cut as they once believed. Luffy stands at the bow of the ship, staring out at the vast ocean, his mind racing. Was this justice, he wonders? He's never been one to follow rules blindly. As a pirate, he always challenged authority, always believed that the right to be free was a universal truth. But now, as a Marine, that freedom is bound by a new set of rules. Luffy feels trapped by the very thing he once sought to oppose. He recalls the pirates they just defeated, desperate, struggling to survive, and for the first time, Luffy questions the righteousness of the Marine cause. Was this truly the right thing to do? The fight had been necessary to uphold the law, but had they done the right thing? The crew wasn't fighting for personal gain. They weren't chasing a treasure. They were fighting for the Marines' justice. But what if that justice was flawed? Luffy's grip tightens on his straw hat. His eyes are clouded, uncertain. The ideals of freedom and the promise of being a hero seem to slip further from his reach. This isn't the same world he dreamed of as a boy. Still, his resolve hardens. Luffy may not know what justice is exactly, but one thing is clear: he isn't willing to give up on his crew. If the world demands answers, Luffy will carve out his own. Zoro stands to the side, his swords glinting under the fading sun. He's been a Marine now for a while, but this mission, this particular fight, has left him questioning everything. He's always believed in the strength of the sword, in fighting for honor and strength. But now, with the defeat of the pirates, he feels as though he's lost a part of that. The pirates were no different from him. They fought to protect their friends, their dreams. Zoro feels the weight of his actions pressing against him. Am I still the swordsman I once was? He wonders. Am I fighting for my own honor? Or for some distant government that doesn't understand what true honor means? Zoro's loyalty to Luffy remains unwavering, but it is becoming harder to justify the Marines' cause. Every slash of his sword, once a symbol of personal ambition, now feels like a tool of an unjust system. He finds himself asking, is the pursuit of becoming the greatest swordsman worth it if it is in the service of a cause I don't believe in? Still, Zoro pushes those doubts aside. He has always believed in his sword and in his captain. For now, that will have to be enough. Nami watches the pirates being taken away, their fates sealed by the Marines' justice. She doesn't feel proud. Instead, there's a gnawing emptiness in her chest. Her heart aches for the pirates they just fought, but even more, it aches for the dream she once had: freedom. freedom to choose her own path, to chase her own treasure, to live her life without the constraints of a system. Nami's mind races. She's been a Marine now for some time, and yet she finds herself disillusioned with the system. Her navigation skills were revered, and her intelligence made her an invaluable asset to the Marines, but she's beginning to wonder if the price of power was worth it. She traded her life as a pirate and outlaw for the Marines' structured life. But freedom, she realizes, is far more precious than anything the Marines offer. Nami knows the system is flawed. She has seen it with her own eyes. The government's mission isn't to preserve freedom, it's to control and dominate. She remembers the pirate crew they just fought. They were into evil. They were desperate. Nami feels conflicted, her desire for independence pulling her in one direction, while her loyalty to Luffy pulls her in another. The question now lingers in her mind. Should I continue following this path, or should I break free? Sanji, ever the romantic, can help but feel conflicted. He's been a Marine for a while now, but every mission feels more hollow than the last. The pirates they just defeated had families, friends, and dreams just like him. Sanji once fought to protect those dreams, to defend his own version of freedom. Now he is fighting for the Marine Code, a code that doesn't always reflect his own ideals. He feels the weight of his duty pressing down on him. He used to dream of opening his own restaurant, of living a peaceful life, cooking for the ones he loved. But instead, here he is, fighting pirates who are no different from the crew he once sailed with. His heart longs for a life of peace, but the weight of his position in the Marines keeps him bound. Sanji looks over at Nami, her expression pensive, and at Luffy, his usual carefree grin replaced by a somber gaze. He knows what they are all feeling. They've all changed in some way, but the question remains, is the price of justice worth the loss of their dreams? The crew stands at a crossroads, each of them lost in their own thoughts. Their mission may be over, but the battle within them has just begun. In this world where they fight for the Marines, their sense of justice has been shaken to its core, and the freedom they once sought now feels further away than ever. Days pass, and the Strawhat Marines continue their journey. The weight of their mission lingers in the air, unspoken, but felt by all. They sail on through the East Blue, heading toward a new assignment. But the crew S-bond is no longer the same. The dreams they once held so fiercely now seem distant. And with each passing wave, the question looms larger. What is justice, and whose side are they really on? Luffy stands at the bow, his gaze fixed on the horizon. His hands grip the rail tightly, the wind tousling his hair. It's as if the world is pressing down on him, each gust of wind a reminder of the weight he carries as captain. His crew, once a group of carefree pirates, is now a squad of highly trained Marines bound by a duty they never asked for. Every decision feels heavier now. The fun, carefree adventures that once defined their journey seem like a distant memory. Luffy's hands twitch at his sides. Is this the right choice? The Marine S code is clear: defeat the pirates, uphold justice. But Luffy can shake the feeling that something is missing. What happened to the freedom to pursue our dreams? As a Marine captain, Luffy is expected to lead with unwavering resolve, but the truth is he is lost in his own uncertainty. Every time they set sail for another mission, he feels a pang of nostalgia for his life as a pirate. The joy he once felt knowing he could follow his own path is gone. It has been replaced by a sense of duty, one that feels, at times, suffocating. Luffy's mind drifts back to their last mission. The pirates they fought had families, hopes, and dreams. It was a mission he could have easily walked away from as a pirate. Instead, he fought for the Marines' justice, and now he is left wondering, did we do the right thing? He can feel the eyes of his crew on him, waiting for him to lead them with the same conviction that once made him Pirate King. But Luffy knows this is a new world, and there is no simple answer. He doesn't know the future, but one thing is certain: he will never stop searching for his own version of freedom. Zoro stands on the deck, sharpening his swords as the crew sails toward their next mission. His movements are slow, methodical, but there's an edge to them of frustration that he can't shake. Zoro never thought he'd be fighting for the Marines. A part of him still can't believe it. The Marines stand for order, for law. But Zoro, the swordsman who values personal strength above all else, never understood how his power could serve someone else's agenda. In the quiet of the night, Zoro contemplates the path he is on. His desire to be the greatest swordsman hasn't changed, but his sense of purpose has. He trained and fought for his own dream of becoming the best. Now it seems like he's fighting for someone else's vision. The line between right and wrong seems to blur with every mission. Zoro's frustration is growing. He fights because he swore an oath to Luffy, but as the crew continues their missions, Zoro's internal conflict deepens. He is loyal to Luffy, but his honor as a swordsman demands that he questions his place in the Marines. Is he truly serving his own goal of becoming the strongest? Or has he simply become another tool in the world government's arsenal? He knows he is loyal to his captain, but with every swing of his blade, Zoro wonders if his dreams are being sacrificed for something he doesn't believe in. He's still the same swordsman he always was, but the burden of his actions now feels like an anchor. Nami spends her days charting courses, her maps filled with endless possibilities, but her mind is elsewhere. As she watches the crew, she wonders how much longer she can live this double life. On the one hand, she is a Marine officer, a skilled navigator trusted by the world government. On the other, she is a woman who once sailed freely as a pirate, chasing treasure and dreams. The tension between those two worlds is wearing her down. Her heart aches for the days when she lived without the constant pressure of following orders. The freedom she once knew now seems like a distant memory. She knows the Marine life is about discipline, about protecting the people. But every time they sail into a new mission, she can't help but feel like a part of herself is being left behind. Her dreams of treasure, of independence, feel more like an illusion now. Nami has seen the darker side of the Marines. They claim to uphold justice, but she's starting to see how easily that justice can be twisted. She remembers the pirates they fought on their last mission, the desperation in their eyes. They weren't criminals. They were people just like her and the rest of the crew. In her heart, Nami knows she doesn't belong here, not like this. She is a Marine, but she's not sure she believes in the cause. The weight of her position becomes clearer with each passing day. Nami's life was once defined by her pursuit of wealth and freedom. Now it seems as though the only thing she is pursuing is a false sense of security. But deep down, she knows the only way she'll ever be truly free is to break free of the shackles of the Marines. And the only way she can do that is by finding the truth about justice. Sanji, the crew's ever-optimistic cook, walks the deck, his hands tucked in his pockets. He's learned to deal with the tension, the uncertainty, but there are moments when the weight of his duty feels too much to bear. He fights for the Marines, now fights to protect the innocent. But he never signed up for this. He never wanted to become part of a system that values obedience over freedom. His gaze drifts over to Nami, who is busy at the map table, her brow furrowed in thought. The fire in her eyes mirrors the frustration Sanji feels. He knows how much she wants to be free, to return to the life they once had. Sanji can deny the longing in his heart for that same freedom. He joined the Marines to protect the ones he loved, to find a sense of purpose. But now, the longer they serve, the more he feels like he's trapped in a world he doesn't understand. He thinks about the pirates they've effaced, people just trying to survive, trying to chase their own dreams. It's hard for Sanji to reconcile the idea of fighting against people who are no different from the crew he once called family. He never wanted to be a soldier. He wanted to be a cook, free to do what he loved. But now he is caught in the machinery of the world government, and it is becoming harder to see a way out. As the days continue to pass, the Straw Hat Marines are left to question their place in the world. Each of them struggles to reconcile their own ideals with the reality they now face. But no matter how much they may doubt, one thing remains clear: they are still a crew, bound together by a bond stronger than any law or code. The ship sails into a new territory, an island where the whispers of corruption within the Marines have spread like wildfire. Luffy and his crew are called to investigate. Their mission simple: root out the traitors within their ranks. But what they discover is more than just a case of insubordination. It has a deep moral crisis that threatens to tear their loyalties apart. Once again, the line between justice and oppression blurs. Luffy stares at the island on the horizon. It is a place where whispers of corruption within the Marines have reached the crew seers, and it feels like they've stepped into a darkened version of the world they've come to know. For the first time in a long while, Luffy feels the burden of leadership weigh heavier than ever. The excitement of being a Marine, of chasing justice, has faded. What once felt like a grand adventure now feels like a shadowy trap. The closer they get to the island, the more uneasy Luffy becomes. The mission ahead is clear: find the corrupt Marines and deal with them. But Luffy knows that this mission is different. It's not about simply taking down pirates or enemies. It is about confronting something deeper, a flaw within the system he is now part of. As captain, Luffy is supposed to lead with strength, but today he feels uncertain. He thought that becoming a Marine would bring him closer to the ideal of justice. But the truth is harder to digest. What if the Marines themselves are the ones in the wrong? The crew looks to Luffy for guidance, but inside he's just torn. This is no longer about just fighting for his friends or for freedom. It is about confronting the very system he is pledged to serve. He can help but feel that the Marines' brand of justice is corrupt, and his place in it feels increasingly out of sync with the person he wants to be. "Let's just see what we're up against," Luffy says, his voice still steady, but it lacks the usual excitement. Deep down he knows that this mission is not just a test of their strength, but a test of their morality. Zoro, ever the loyal swordsman, stands beside Luffy, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. He doesn't speak much, but his mind is racing. The closer they get to the island, the more his doubts about the Marines grow. This isn't the same world he fought in as a pirate. Back then, his goal was simple: become the greatest swordsman. Now, it is not just about strength. It is about the values behind the sword, the people he's fighting for. He can feel a tension building within him. Zoro has always been loyal to Luffy, and that hasn't changed, but the more they fight for the Marines, the more he wonders what he is really fighting for. His sword should be a symbol of his own ambition, his own quest for greatness, not a tool in someone else's war. As they step onto the island, Zoro can shake the feeling that they are about to face something far worse than any pirate crew they've encountered. He draws his swords ready for battle, but his mind drifts back to the idea of justice. What is it really? And is he willing to continue serving an organization that uses the word without truly understanding what it means? Nami's mind is racing as she observes the island from the deck of their ship. The whispers of corruption within the Marines had always seemed like distant rumors, but now they reach in front of her, right on the cusp of their next mission. She has spent so much of her life calculating the next best move, whether it was finding treasure or escaping from dangerous situations. But this mission? This one feels different. She knows what she has to do. As the crew's navigator, she will chart the course, keep them on track, and ensure they don't fall into traps. But as a Marine, Nami can't help but feel the conflict growing inside her. She is not just navigating seas anymore, she is navigating a moral quagmire. The Marines' cause was supposed to be about protecting the innocent, about justice. But the longer Nami stays in this life, the more she sees the cracks in the system. She witnessed it before the callous disregard for the lives of those the Marines claim to protect. This mission feels like the culmination of everything she's been afraid of the day when she'll have to choose between the crew and the system that claimed her. Nami knows that the corrupt Marines on this island are not the same as the pirates they've faced before. They wear the same uniform, but their actions betray everything the Marine forces are supposed to stand for. And as she prepares for the mission ahead, Nami realizes that this will be the test of her own beliefs. Will she continue to serve the Marines, or will she finally break free and return to the life she once knew? Sanji watches the island draw closer, his heart heavy with a sense of dread. The crew has always relied on him to keep their spirits high, to be the one who cooks them meals that feel like home. But inside, he is struggling. The promise he made to protect his friends, to fight for their freedom, feels strained. Under the weight of the Marine-esque demands, Sanji never wanted to be a soldier. He wanted to cook, to protect the ones he loved, and to create a life of peace. But every day, it feels like he's losing sight of that dream. This mission finding and confronting corrupt Marines feels like a slap in the face. It is not about protecting the innocent. It is about silencing those who dare to question authority. As the crew prepares to disembark, Sanji steps forward, ready for whatever comes next. But his mind is filled with doubt. He wants to be a protector, not an enforcer of a corrupt system. And as the island looms closer, he wonders if he can continue this life much longer. What happens when the fight for justice feels more like the fight to preserve power? The Strawhat Marines step off the ship, ready for their next mission. But none of them are prepared for the weight of what they will uncover. This island holds more than just traitors. It holds the mirror to their own struggles, a reflection of everything they've come to question. They've fought pirates, but now they must fight for their own beliefs. The island looms in front of them, a seemingly peaceful place where a dark undercurrent flows beneath its idyllic exterior. The crew steps off the ship each of them aware that this mission will be unlike any they've faced before. The goal is clear: find the corrupt Marines and bring them to justice. But what they uncover is far more complicated than they ever expected. The Straw Hat Marines set foot on the island with a sense of determination. But as they approach the heart of the island, something feels off. The streets are eerily quiet. The villagers watch them with nervous eyes. This isn't the warm welcome they were expecting from the people they are meant to protect. Something isn't right. Luffy leads the crew through the town, his eyes scanning the surroundings. He's not just looking for the corrupt Marines, he's searching for answers. As they walk, they begin to notice the subtle signs of tension, the way the villagers avoid eye contact, the subtle fear that lingers in the air. It's clear that something sinister is at play, but the question is, what? After some investigating, Nami uncovers a strange pattern. Many of the people they've spoken to have mentioned a group of Marines who have been using their position to extort the island's inhabitants. These Marines have been demanding tribute from the villagers in exchange for protection, a protection that isn't even guaranteed. The more the crew digs, the more it becomes clear that these Marines are using their power to line their pockets, leaving the villagers in a state of fear and uncertainty. Luffy frowns. This isn't justice. The crew looks to him for guidance, and for the first time in a long while, Luffy doesn't know what to say. His sense of right and wrong is being shaken, and he can feel the weight of his position as a Marine captain pressing on him. Zoro walks with a grim expression on his face, his swords held firmly at his side. The more he hears about these corrupt Marines, the more his frustration grows. He never wanted to be a part of this system, and now seeing the way these so-called soldiers are exploiting their power, it makes his blood boil. I didn't sign up for this, Zoro mutters under his breath as they move through the village. He's ready to cut down the corrupt Marines and end their reign of terror, but he knows it is not that simple. This isn't a fight between pirates and Marines. This is a fight between what's right and what's wrong, and Zoro isn't as sure where his sword belongs in this battle. As the crew continues their investigation, Zoro's mind races. He still believes in becoming the strongest swordsman, but now he is starting to question what that strength means. If he is fighting for the Marines, he is fighting for a system that doesn't care about the people they're supposed to protect. It is hard to reconcile that with the dreams he once held. Zoro's frustration grows with every step he takes, and it is becoming clear that he's nearing the breaking point. Nami, ever the strategist, begins to piece together the true extent of the corruption on the island. She meets with a few of the village leaders in secret, and what she learns only deepens her resolve to take action. The corrupt Marines have been extorting the people, forcing them to pay for protection they never receive. Worse, anyone who refuses to comply faces the wrath of the Marines, who raid homes, destroy crops, and imprison the innocent. Why didn't anyone speak up sooner? Nami asks, her voice low and filled with frustration. She understands the fear that keeps people silent. She's seen it in her own life, the way people turn a blind eye to avoid confrontation. But this was too much. Nami realizes that the problem is not just the corruption of a few bad Marines. It is a systemic issue that goes all the way to the top. The Marines, once her allies, now feel like the very enemy she once fought against. The betrayal is personal for her, and she can't help but wonder if the organization she serves is really any different from the pirates they once hunted. She turns to Luffy, her eyes filled with determination. We have to do something. We cannot let them get away with this. Sanji is fuming. As the crew uncovers the full scope of the corruption on the island, the anger inside him boils over. He's always prided himself on protecting those who can protect themselves, on standing up for the vulnerable. But now he's faced with a harsh reality. The Marines, the very organization he's pledged his loyalty to, are the ones causing the harm. I never wanted this, Sanji mutters as he watches a group of villagers quietly pack their belongings, clearly preparing to flee the island. He can blame them. If the Marines are the ones terrorizing them, what else can they do? Sanjay's fists clench at his sides. His promise to protect those in need feels hollow when the people who are supposed to be the protectors are the ones exploiting the weak. Sanji had joined the Marines to bring order to the world, to protect the ones he loved, but now he sees the very system he is working for as a source of suffering. His role as a Marine cook feels increasingly irrelevant when the battles they were fighting aren't the ones they should be. As the crew prepares to take action, Sanji knows that this mission will be a turning point for him. The life he thought he was building with the Marines is collapsing, and the more he learns, the more he realizes he can stay in this corrupt system much longer. But what choice does he have? He's already this far in. As the Straw Hat Marines uncover the true extent of the corruption on the island, the lines between right and wrong blur even further. The crew is no longer just fighting pirates, they are fighting for what they believe is right against a system they once trusted. As they prepare to confront the corrupt Marines, they are forced to face their own personal conflicts, and the question remains: can they uphold the law, or will they take a stand against the very organization they serve? The time for questioning has passed. With the full extent of the corruption laid bare before them, the Straw Hat Marines prepare to confront the rotten core of the Marine force on the island. It is no longer just a matter of enforcing justice, it is a matter of defining what justice means to them. The crew stands on the precipice of a decision that will forever change their path. Luffy stands before his crew, his eyes burning with determination. The weight of leadership feels heavier now, and his heart aches with uncertainty. For the first time, Luffy isn't just leading his crew through a fight, he's leading them through a moral reckoning. The corrupt Marines on this island aren't just criminals. They are part of the system that Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Sanji, and the rest of the crew have sworn allegiance to. Luffy knows that they've been hunting pirates, but now they are hunting people who were once supposed to be their allies. His hand instinctively reaches for the straw hat atop his head, the symbol of his former dreams. In this moment, it feels heavier than ever. He is no longer just Luffy, the boy who wanted to be Pirate King. He is Luffy, the Marine captain, standing on the brink of making a decision that could shatter everything he has worked for. The crew gathers around him, all eyes on their captain. Luffy opens his mouth, but for a moment, no words come out. Should I uphold the Marines' justice and do what they expect of me? Luffy's thoughts are clouded, but then he looks at his crew, his friends. They didn't sign up to be part of a corrupt system. They joined the Marines because they wanted to protect people, to make the world a better place. Luffy clenches his fists, resolve settling in his chest. We're not just going to stand by and let them do this, he says, his voice firm. We came here to fight for justice. But justice isn't about obeying orders blindly. Justice is about protecting the innocent, and if the Marines here can do that, then it is up to us to stop them. His eyes meet Zoro S., then Nami S., then Sanji S. We're not just fighting for the Marines' justice, we were fighting for our own. With those words, Luffy makes his choice. The Strawhat Marines aren't just fighting against pirates. They are fighting for their own version of justice, one that doesn't depend on laws or codes, but on what's right. The weight of the straw hat seems a little lighter now, as Luffy takes the first step toward breaking free from the chains of the world government. Zoro feels the weight of his swords once again, his hand resting lightly on the hilt of his katana. He's ready for battle, but this isn't just any fight, it's a fight that challenges everything he once believed about honor and duty. When Luffy speaks, Zoro knows exactly what he has to do. He doesn't need to question his Captain-S decision. Zoro's loyalty has always been to Luffy, to the crew, to the bond they share. If Luffy is willing to break from the Marine Code, then so is he. Zoro has always fought for personal strength, for his own dream, but now he realizes that his dream of becoming the greatest swordsman is inextricably tied to the freedom to live as he chooses, not as a pawn in someone else's game. "Let us end this," Zoro says, his voice calm but fierce. His swords glint under the sun, ready for the battle ahead. He knows that this fight isn't just about cutting down corrupt Marines, it's about cutting down the system that controls them. Zoro steps forward, his resolve unshaken. He's not just fighting to be the strongest swordsman anymore. He's fighting to protect his crew, to protect the people who can defend themselves against the system that is supposed to serve them. Nami looks at the corrupt Marines standing between them and the villagers they've sworn to protect. The plan is set. Take down the corrupt officers, expose the truth, and free the island from their tyranny. But Nami knows that this mission will come at a cost. The Marines are no longer just a distant organization, they are a part of the world she is now tied to, and yet she is ready to take a stand. With each step, Nami's mind works faster, calculating their best course of action. She's the one who has always seen the bigger picture, the one who has always understood the tides of the world. But now, as the world she once knew feels like it is collapsing around her, Nami is forced to see it in a new light. The very system that gave her power is now the system she must fight against. "This is our moment," Nami says, looking to her crew. "We know what is right. We know what justice is." She pauses, her gaze hardening. "And we're not going to let anyone stand in our way." Her words bring clarity to the crew. Nami isn't just their navigator anymore. She's the heart of their mission, the strategist who sees the path forward. And no matter how difficult the journey, she knows they can do this together. Sanji's fists are clenched tight. His heart burns with the fury of betrayal. He joined the Marines to protect people, to make the world a safer place. But what he has seen on this island has shattered that illusion. These Marines are nothing like the ones he believed in. They are corrupt, power-hungry, and willing to sacrifice the lives of innocents to maintain their control. The memories of his own struggles of fighting for what is right flash through his mind. He never wanted to be a soldier. He wanted to cook, to protect the ones he loved, and to live a life of peace. But that dream is slipping away as he realizes the world he's trying to protect is broken. "This is wrong," Sanji mutters, his voice low but filled with fury. "I'm not going to let them get away with this. I'll protect these people. even if I have to fight every last one of them." Sanji steps forward, ready to fight for what he believes in. It is not just about the Marines anymore, it's about standing up for the innocent, for the ones who can defend themselves. And for the first time in a long while, Sanji feels the fire of his old dreams reignite. He doesn't have to be a Marine to protect the world. He just has to be true to himself. The Straw Hat Marines are no longer just soldiers of the world government. They are a force of change, standing against the very system they once served. With Luffy-esque leadership, Zoro-esque unwavering resolve, Nami-esque strategy, and Sanji-esque passion, the crew is ready to fight not just for justice, but for the future they want to create. The island trembles as the Straw Hat Marines prepare to confront the corrupt officers who have taken control of this once peaceful place. The crew, no longer bound by the law of the Marines, is ready to take a stand for what they believe is right. But as they face down the enemy, they must also confront the harsh reality that this fight will not only determine the fate of the island, but also the future of their bond with the world government. Luffy steps forward, his eyes hard with determination. The Marines he once fought alongside now stand as the enemy, their corruption a stain on the very ideals he once swore to uphold. But Luffy isn't just fighting against the Marines' betrayal, he is fighting for the future he still believes in. His dream of freedom, of becoming the pirate king, wasn't about rebellion, it was about choosing a path for himself, one where he could protect his friends and stand up for what was right. "Let us finish this," Luffy says, his voice unwavering. "We are not just fighting for this island, we are fighting for everyone who believes in justice, our justice." His words ignite a fire in the hearts of the crew. For the first time in a long while, Luffy's vision of freedom feels real again. They aren't just agents of the world government. They are individuals with their own sense of justice, ready to fight for the people who can to protect themselves. Luffy charges forward, his crew following him without hesitation. The battle ahead will be fierce, but Luffy knows that it is the only way to reclaim the freedom they once sought. The Marines may control the law, but Luffy and his crew will fight to create a new kind of justice, a justice that puts the people first. Zoro draws his swords, his mind clear. He's been fighting for his own strength for as long as he can remember, but today, his blade isn't just about personal glory, it's about protecting those he holds dear. The corrupt Marines on this island may have the power of the law behind them, but Zoro knows that true strength comes from the heart. Zoro clashes with the first Marine officer, his blades a blur of deadly precision. Every strike is a test of his resolve, every parry a reminder of his commitment to his crew. As the battle rages on, Zoro's mind drifts back to the path he once walked. He wanted to be the strongest swordsman in the world, and nothing was going to stop him. But now, with every slash, he realizes that being the strongest isn't enough if it means fighting for the wrong cause. "I'll fight for you, Luffy," Zoro mutters to himself, "for our freedom, for our dream." With each opponent he cuts down, Zoro grows more and more resolute. The weight of his sword isn't just a symbol of his strength, it's a symbol of his loyalty to Luffy, to the crew, and to the ideals they're fighting for. Zoro's journey isn't just about becoming the greatest swordsman, it's about finding his own path to justice. Nami stands at the rear of the battle, her sharp eyes constantly scanning the battlefield. She's not just a navigator anymore, she is a strategist working to outthink and outmaneuver the corrupt Marines. With a quick glance, she orders the crew to take specific positions, setting traps and using the terrain to their advantage. Her mind races, constantly calculating the best way to win, but also to minimize unnecessary damage. "We can't just rush in blindly," Nami shouts to the crew. "We need to take down their leadership first. Without them, the rest will fall apart." Her plan is simple but effective. She knows that the key to victory isn't brute strength, it's outsmarting the enemy. Nami's strategic mind shines as she manipulates the battlefield, leading the charge from behind the scenes. She is more than just the crew's navigator, she is the one who ensures that their mission isn't just a fight, but a calculated strike against the heart of the corruption. As the battle rages, Nami watches her plan unfold. The corrupt Marines are beginning to falter. The crew is following her lead. And with every passing minute, the chances of success grow stronger. Nami's heart pounds in her chest, not from fear, but from the thrill of finally being in control. This is the life she wanted, a life where she can shape her own destiny and protect the ones she loves. Sanji's emotions are running high. He has always been the cook of the crew, the one who keeps their spirits up, but today, he's fighting for something far greater than just his friends. He's fighting for the innocent lives that have been trampled by the corrupt Marines. These men and women who once wore the same uniform as him are now his enemies, and Sanji will not stand by while they hurt the helpless. Sanji's fists fly in rapid succession, each kick and punch delivering a blow to the corrupt Marines who have terrorized the island. He is not just fighting for his crew, he's fighting for the freedom to protect those who can defend themselves. "I'll never let you hurt anyone again," Sanji growls, as he delivers a powerful kick that sends a Marine flying through the air. "Not while I am here." The heat of battle doesn't stop Sanji. Every enemy he takes down is a step toward reclaiming the justice he believed in. For the first time in a long while, Sanji feels the fire inside him reignite. He may have joined the Marines to protect the weak, but now he is going to do it on his own terms. The battle rages on, each of the Strawhat Marines facing their own personal demons as they fight for justice. The corrupt officers fall one by one, but with each victory, the crew grows more certain of their path. They may have once been bound by the law of the Marines, but now they fight for something greater, their own sense of justice, their own freedom, and the protection of those who can defend themselves. The battle is over, and the corrupt Marines lie defeated. The island, once oppressed by their tyranny, is free. But as the crew stands victorious, a heavy silence falls over them. The cost of this battle of their choices hangs in the air, and the Strawhat Marines are left to reflect on the consequences of their actions. They've fought for justice, but what does that truly mean? Luffy stands alone on the edge of the battlefield, the wind gently rustling his hair. His hands still tremble from the intensity of the fight, but it's not the battle that's on his mind. It's the decisions they've made, the path they've chosen. Did they do the right thing? For a long time, Luffy dreamed of becoming Pirate King, a title that symbolized freedom, adventure, and the right to follow his own path. But now, he finds himself asking what freedom really means. Is it about doing whatever you want? Or is it about protecting those who can protect themselves? And if it is the latter, what does that say about his role as a Marine? Luffy looks down at his straw hat, his fingers tracing the familiar brim. It is still a symbol of his dream, but the dream has changed. The world is different now, And Luffy knows that his adventure isn't just about chasing treasure or freedom. It's about fighting for what he believes is right, even if that means challenging the very organization he once swore allegiance to. I still want to be free, Luffy murmurs to himself. But freedom doesn't mean turning a blind eye to injustice. I've always wanted to protect my friends. And that is what I'll keep doing. I may not be the pirate king, but I'll fight for my crew and's freedom. Luffy's words are quiet, but they carry the weight of his resolve. He knows the path ahead won't be easy, and the choices they've made today may haunt them. But Luffy is certain of one thing: they are on the right path, the one that will allow them to define their own version of justice, free from the constraints of the marine system. Zoro stands nearby, his swords sheathed, his expression as stoic as ever. He's not one for deep reflection, but today the weight of his actions presses on him. He fought for his captain, for his crew, but what does that mean in the larger picture? Zoro's sword has always been his defining trait, his pursuit of strength, his dream of becoming the greatest swordsman in the world. But today his strength was used to fight against the very organization he once thought was synonymous with order. He killed enemies wearing the same uniform he once wore, and that thought doesn't sit right with him. His eyes glance at the villagers who are now free, their faces filled with gratitude. But Zoro wonders if they'll ever understand the price of that freedom. In the end, it was his sword that helped secure it, but is that the kind of justice he wanted to fight for? I'll never stop seeking strength, Zoro thinks to himself. But now I know that strength isn't just about fighting. It is about fighting for something worth protecting. And if I have to stand against the Marines to do that, so be it. Zoro's resolve hardens as he walks away from the battlefield, his path clearer than ever. Strength, he realizes, isn't just for his own glory, it is for his crew, for his ideals, and that is something worth fighting for. Nami surveys the scene, her heart heavy, as the villagers celebrate their newfound freedom. She's done what she always does, charted a course, made a plan, and ensured that the crew succeeded. But now that the dust has settled, the reality of what they've done weighs on her. Nami joined the Marines for power, for protection, and for the chance to secure her future. But now she's seen the cracks in the system, the corruption, the abuse of power, and the way the Marines control the very people they're supposed to protect. She never imagined she'd be fighting for justice like this. She thought she could navigate a world of treasure and freedom, but instead, she finds herself navigating a world of moral ambiguity. She thinks back to the mission, to the villagers whose lives were torn apart by the Marines, and now she wonders if she can continue serving an organization that doesn't uphold the very ideals she once believed in. What now? Nami whispers to herself. I don't know if I can keep going down this path. The world isn't as simple as I thought it was. But Nami knows one thing. She wanted to abandon her crew. Whatever path they take, she'll be there, navigating through the chaos, trying to find a way to make a difference. She may not have all the answers, but she knows that together they can find their own version of justice. Sanji watches the villagers celebrate, their faces glowing with relief and happiness. The battle is over, but Sanji feels conflicted. His heart tells him that what they did was right. They freed the people, they stopped the corruption. But a small part of him still questions whether they've done the right thing. He never wanted to be a Marine, never wanted to be a soldier. He joined to protect those he loved, to create a life where he could cook, live peacefully, and protect the innocent. But today he has seen the darker side of the Marines, the side that is willing to sacrifice the weak for the sake of power. Sanji clenches his fist, his emotions a mix of anger and sadness. He'll never stop protecting the people he loves, but he knows now that he can do it through the Marines' corrupted system. There's a bigger fight ahead of him, a fight for freedom, for justice, for the life he wants to build. I'll fight to protect those who need it, Sanji vows, his voice steady. But I'll do it my way. Sanji's heart has always been his compass, and now more than ever, he understands that he has to follow it, no matter where it leads. The crew stands together, victorious, but the battle within themselves is far from over. They've fought for justice, but what they've learned is that true justice isn't something the Marines can offer. It is something they must define for themselves through their actions and their choices. The path ahead is uncertain, but the Strawhat Marines are no longer just soldiers of the world government. They are a force of change, a force fighting for their own version of freedom and justice. As the island recovers from the battle, the Strawhat Marines prepare to leave. The villagers, forever grateful for their liberation, bid them farewell, but the crew's thoughts are far from the celebratory mood. They've broken away from the world government's control, but they know that their actions have set a course they can never turn back from. The journey ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear: they are no longer just the Straw Hat pirates, and they are no longer bound by the Marines. They are a crew with a new purpose. Luffy stands at the edge of the island, looking out at the endless horizon. The sun is beginning to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. For a moment there is peace, no battles, no wars, just the calm before the storm. Luffy takes a deep breath, the salty air filling his lungs. His crew gathers behind him, their eyes filled with the same uncertainty. They've fought together, won together, but now they must decide what comes next. The world government is vast, powerful, and they've only just begun to understand how deep the corruption runs. Their actions on the island have painted a target on their backs. But Luffy doesn't seem to mind. "We made the right choice," Luffy says, his voice steady. "We can just sit back and let this world go on the way it is. We've got our own way of doing things now, and I won't let anyone tell us what justice is. We make our own rules." His words are simple, but the weight behind them is profound. Luffy may have once dreamed of being Pirate King, but now he knows that the true freedom he seeks isn't a title, it's the ability to chart his own course, with his friends by his side. The battles they've fought, the choices they've made, have only strengthened his resolve. They aren't just fighting for freedom from the Marines anymore, they re-fighting for a future they can call their own. Luffy turns to face his crew, his trademark grin returning. "So what do you say?" We set sail again. The world's waiting for us. His crew, each one still carrying the weight of their decisions, looks at one another. There is no hesitation in their eyes. They may not know exactly where this path will take them, but they are ready to face it together. The Straw Hat Marines have become something more than just soldiers. They've become a family, bound not by duty, but by the ideals they now share. Zoro watches Luffy with a look of approval. He's always followed Luffy without question, but today something feels different. They've made a choice that puts them at odds with the very organization they once served. Zoro has always believed in the strength of his sword, but now he understands that strength isn't just about becoming the greatest swordsman, it's about knowing who and what you are fighting for. The world is a mess, Zoro says, his voice low but resolute. But I don't mind. I've always fought for my own reasons. Now I fight for us, for the crew. His words, simple as they are, carry the weight of his loyalty. Zoro may still chase his dream of being the strongest, but he knows now that strength means more than just being the best with a sword. It is about having the resolve to fight for something greater than yourself. And right now, that something is the crew. Zoro looks to Luffy, his captain, and nods. Let us go. Wherever we are headed, I am with you. Nami walks to the edge of the ship, her eyes scanning the open sea. The wind rustles through her hair, and for the first time in a long while, she feels a sense of freedom. But it is not the freedom she once dreamed of, the one where she could chase treasure and escape from her past. No, this freedom is different. It is the freedom to make her own choices, to carve her own path, and to fight for a world that isn't controlled by the corrupt forces she once served. The world is vast, and Nami knows it is up to her to guide the crew toward their next destination. Her mind is already working, calculating their next move. She is no longer just a navigator. She is a strategist, a leader in her own right. We've seen what the Marines are really like, Nami says, her voice steady. And we've seen how far they'll go to protect their own interests. But that is not the kind of world I want to live in. We're going to find our own way, and we're going to make sure that no one has to live in fear again. Nami's eyes meet Luffy's, and for a moment, she feels the weight of her decision settle in her chest. She is no longer the same person she was when she first joined the crew. She has changed. But the heart of who she is, the desire to protect, to chart a new course, remains the same. We'll need to stay one step ahead, Nami continues, her voice filled with quiet determination. But I've got a plan, and with you all, I know we can make it happen. Sanji leans against the mast, watching the crew as they prepare to set sail. The weight of everything they've done is starting to sink in. They've taken on the world government itself, and now they are free to make their own decisions. For Sanji, this moment is bittersweet. He's always wanted to protect the people he cares about, but he never imagined the fight would take him this far. The Marines were supposed to be a force for good, but they've shown their true colors. We've done what we needed to do, Sanji says, his voice soft but steady. But now we have to keep moving forward. The fight is not over. There's still a world out there that needs changing. Sanji looks out at the horizon, a sense of clarity filling him. He's never wanted to be a soldier in someone else's army. He's always wanted to live his life freely, to cook, to love, and to protect the ones he cares about. And now, he has the chance to do that on his own terms. I am ready for whatever comes next, Sanji continues, his voice stronger now. I've got a dream to chase, and I am not letting anyone stand in my way. The Strawhat Marines have found something they never expected. A sense of purpose beyond the laws of the world government. They've come to realize that justice isn't something handed down by authority. It is something you define for yourself. With Luffy leading them, the crew stands ready to face whatever challenges come next, knowing that they'll do it on their own terms, together as a family. As the Strawhat Marines set sail once again, the ripples of their actions begin to spread far beyond the island they've just liberated. The world government, never one to tolerate disobedience, has taken notice of the crew's defiance. What began as a simple mission to uphold justice has now turned into a full-fledged rebellion against the system that governs the seas. But the crew remains steadfast, their resolve as unshakable as ever. Back at Marine headquarters, the higher-ups are in turmoil. The defeat of the corrupt officers on the island, coupled with the Strawhat Marines' actions, has not gone unnoticed. The world government, ever vigilant, sees the potential for a rebellion, brewing a threat to the very foundation of their authority. Admirals and commanders gather in a dark room, their faces grim as they discuss the consequences of the Straw Hats' rebellion. The situation is unprecedented. A crew that was once part of the Marines has not only turned against them, but is now openly defying their laws. This is no small matter. Do they not understand the consequences of their actions? One admiral growls. They have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. The world government will not tolerate this. Another admiral, calmer but no less stern, replies, "We cannot let this rebellion fester. They are a threat to our rule, but we must act with precision. If we make the wrong move, we risk making martyrs of them." The room falls into silence as the reality of the situation sinks in. The Straw Hat Marines have become more than just renegades. They are now a symbol of resistance, an idea that threatens the control the world government has over the seas. As the crew sails onward, they feel the weight of the world growing heavier. The news of their actions has begun to spread, and they know it won't be long before the world government sends its best to hunt them down. But they are ready. Luffy stands at a helm, looking out at the endless ocean. The wind blows through his hair, and for a moment he feels like the same boy who set out to be Pirate King. But now, the stakes are different. They were no longer just pirates. They were rebels fighting for a cause greater than themselves. The crew knows that they will have to keep moving, stay one step ahead of the Marines. But with each passing day, they grow stronger not just in power, but in conviction. They've chosen their path, and there's no going back. They are no longer bound by the laws of the world government. They are free to pursue their own version of justice. "I know they were coming for us," Luffy says, his voice filled with determination. "But we won to back down. Not now, not ever. This is our fight now." Zoro, as always, stands ready. He hasn't said much since their last battle, but his eyes reveal everything. The weight of their decision to turn against the world government weighs on him, but it doesn't break his resolve. Zoro has always believed in his own strength, in the pursuit of his dream to become the greatest swordsman. But now, that strength is being used for something much larger than personal ambition. It is for his captain, for the crew, and for a world that needs to be freed from the grip of tyranny. Zoro places his hand on the hilt of his sword, feeling the familiar weight. "We've come this far," he mutters. "And I'm not turning back. I fight for Luffy, and for the people who need our help. We'll win this because we have to." His words are simple, but they carry the full weight of his resolve. Zoro's loyalty has always been unwavering, and now it is being tested in ways he never expected. But in this moment, he knows one thing. The Straw Hat Marines are a family, and they will fight for each other no matter what. Nami watches the horizon, her mind always working, calculating their next move. She knows that the world government is a formidable enemy, but she also knows that they have something the world government doesn't, the will to keep fighting for what is right. As their ship sails, Nami is already planning their next steps. She knows that the crew will need to stay ahead of their enemies, but more than that, they'll need allies. The world government is vast, and their reach stretches far and wide. But if they can make the right connections, if they can find the right people to fight with them, they might just stand a chance. We've made a lot of enemies, Nami says, her voice filled with resolve. But we've also made a lot of friends. We'll need both if we were going to take on the world government. But we were not alone in this. Nami's strategy is clear. They all need to gather support, to rally others who believe in the same cause. She is no longer just a navigator. She is a leader. And she understands that to win this fight, they'll need to build an army of like-minded souls who are willing to stand up against the Marines and the world government. Sanji, who has always been the crew's emotional anchor, now finds himself more determined than ever. The world government may have branded them as rebels, but to Sanji, they are simply fighting for what is right. He's always believed in protecting those who can't protect themselves, and now, more than ever, he understands the stakes. We fight for the people, Sanji says, his voice steady, for the innocent, for the ones who have no voice. We won to let the Marines take that from us. Sanji has always fought for freedom, for love, and for justice. But now, he realizes that true justice isn't something handed down from above it, something they must create together through their actions, their bonds, and their choices. And he's ready to fight for that with everything he has. The Strawhat Marines have become more than just a crew. They are a symbol of resistance, a force fighting for a world where justice is not defined by laws or authority, but by the will of those who dare to stand up for what is right. They may be hunted by the world government, but they are not afraid. Together, they will face whatever challenges come their way. Their journey is far from over, but they know that with each other by their side, they can overcome anything. As the crew sails deeper into the Grand Line, the world around them grows darker, more uncertain. The world government's pursuit grows ever closer, and the Strawhat Marines know that their time is running out. But with every passing day, their resolve strengthens. They are no longer running from their past. They are charging forward into an uncertain future, a future they will define on their own terms. On the distant horizon, dark clouds gather. The world government's forces are vast, and their reach extends across the seas. The Strawhat Marines know it as only a matter of time before they face the full might of the Marines' wrath. The word of their rebellion has spread across the seas like wildfire, and soon the most powerful admirals, the fiercest soldiers, will be sent to deal with them. Luffy stands at the bow, his hand gripping the railing. The wind is heavy with the tension of what lies ahead. He's always known that becoming Pirate King would mean challenging the entire world, but he never expected to be fighting not just for his dream, but for the very idea of freedom itself. "They're coming for us," Luffy says, his voice steady. "But I'm not backing down. We've made our choice." He turns to his crew, his eyes burning with the fire of determination. "I don't know what is ahead of us, but I do know one thing. I'll never stop fighting for my crew, for freedom, for what is right." The crew gathers around him, their faces showing the weight of the choices they've made. Zoro, Nami, Sanji, and the rest of the crew all stand resolute, ready for whatever comes next. They've fought for each other, and they'll keep fighting, not just for their lives, but for a world where people can live free from oppression. We're not running away, Zoro says, his voice sharp. We've come too far for that. Nami nods, her usual confident smirk playing on her lips. We've got our own way of doing things. We'll make sure we take the fight to them. Sanji cracks his knuckles, the fire of determination burning in his eyes. We've always fought for freedom. We'll do it again, no matter who stands in our way. The crew is ready. They've fought for each other, and now they will fight for the world they believe in. The world government may have control over the seas, but the Straw Hat Marines have something they didn't, a will to fight for a better future. The crew faces a crossroads. They've been running from the world government for so long, but now they have to decide. Do they keep running or do they stand and fight? The pressure mounts as they realize that their fight is no longer just about survival, it is about what kind of world they want to live in. Luffy knows what he wants. He's fought for freedom his entire life, and he won't let the world government dictate what justice means. But the question remains, what is the cost of standing up to an empire like the world government? Will they be able to change the world, or will they be crushed beneath the weight of its power? I'm not running anymore, Luffy says, his voice calm but filled with resolve. We fight for what is right. We fight for the people who can fight for themselves. And if the world government wants to stop us, then we'll make them understand that we are not backing down. Zoro steps forward, his hand on the hilt of his sword. I am with you, Luffy. Whatever comes, I'll fight. We've already crossed the line. There's no turning back now. Nami's eyes narrow as she looks ahead at the horizon. We've got the skills, the will, and the heart to win, but we need to stay smart. We'll need more allies. We can do this alone. Sanji steps forward, his fists clenched. If we were going to take them down, we were going to do it together. We a family, we protect each other. And that's what I am fighting for. With their resolve set, the crew knows that they've made their decision. They will stand and fight not just against the Marines, but for a world where they can create their own destiny. The road ahead may be dark and filled with danger, but with each other by their side, they know they can face whatever comes next. The crew sets their course for a new destination. The world government is on their heels, but they no longer fear the future. They've faced battles, betrayal, and uncertainty, but they've always stood together, and now they will stand against the world government itself. As the ship sails forward into the unknown, Luffy looks out at the vast ocean. There are no more limits, no more chains. The sea stretches before them, wide and endless, and for the first time in a long while, Luffy feels truly free. Free to make his own choices. Free to fight for the future he believes in. The Straw Hat Marines are no longer just fugitives, they are a symbol of resistance. A force that will challenge the corrupt system. The one that stands for true freedom. The world may be broken, but the Straw Hat Marines are determined to fix it, one battle at a time. We've come this far, Luffy says with a grin, turning to his crew. Let us keep going. With the wind in their sails and their hearts set on the horizon, the Straw Hat Marines sail into the unknown. They are no longer bound by the laws of the world government. They are free. The Straw Hat Marines are on a new journey, one that will take them to the ends of the earth and beyond. The world may try to stop them, but they will never back down. for they fight not just for their own freedom, but for a world where justice is defined by the people, not the system that tries to control them. The crew has come together and fought not just against pirates and corruption, but for a future they can call their own. Their fight against the world government is only beginning, but the Straw Hat Marines are ready for whatever challenges lie ahead. Their journey is just starting, and the world will never be the same.